Latinos did voter suppression all across the country, but you know what happened? It backfired. A lot of people saw that their vote was being suppressed and said, oh, hell no, you're not going to prevent me from voting. We've been through this. We're not going to do it again. So they waited for hours online. And then there were the extraordinary cases. In Illinois, there was a woman named Galicia Malone. She was 9 months pregnant. She started having contractions 5 minutes apart. That's pretty significant. She goes in to vote anyway. She said to the press, I was just trying to read and breathe. Read and breathe. Trying to focus on the right way to vote on all the different issues. And then there was an elderly gentleman in southern Michigan. He literally died at the polls. His heart stopped working, collapsed. Thank God there was a guy nearby, did CPR, revived him, brought his heart back. When he regained consciousness, he asked, did I vote? Then he said, the only two things that matter are that I love you, to his wife, and if I finished, and that I finished what I came here to do. Does it sound like they were interested in having their vote suppressed? They were literally dying to vote. That is awesome. Now, how about the lines in Virginia? A local report here from WAVY on how long people were willing to endure.
My wait was about 3 hours.
Second-time voter Brandon Littman had to deal with this before he cast his vote at Green Run High School in Virginia Beach. It's an area with a large African-American population. One analyst, Vivian Page, suggests may be the target of voter suppression.
Suppression of minority vote has been going on for a long time, an effort to, because primarily the fact that minorities tend to overwhelmingly support the Democratic Party.
All right, well, it doesn't look like they were suppressed. And then finally, here is a percentage where people had to wait. Whites, on average, only had to wait, 9% of them had to wait on lines, whereas African Americans had to, 22% of them had to wait, and for Latinos it was even worse, 24% of them had to wait. That's according to a poll or survey done by AFL-CIO. So you can tell, obviously they targeted minorities, but it seems like it didn't work. So let's bring in a couple of experts here. Professor Tricia Rose is from Brown University. She's a TYT contributor. And Axel Caballero is founder and director of Cuéntame, and he joins us here in the studio as well. Professor Rose, let me start with you first. Is it me, or did people get motivated not just by voting for President Obama or voting for Democrats, but by the idea that they wouldn't be kept down?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Cenk. It's a really important story. Is not only they were motivated by Obama, but frankly, the history of voter suppression is such a part of the collective memory. Every generation knows that this is an ongoing tactic. In fact, African Americans, we don't live in blue states and red states. We live in emergency states. So this was a crisis. This was a crisis to really respond and make sure that their vote was counted.
So now, Axel, let me ask you about Marco Rubio's statement here. He said the conservative movement should have particular appeal to in minority and immigrant communities who are trying to make it, and Republicans need to work harder than ever to communicate our beliefs to them. And this was particularly important, of course, he's a senator from Florida, because Latinos wound up voting in a greater percentage. They were 9% of the electorate in 2008. This time they were 10% of the electorate. So is it enough for the Rubios of the world to say, well, you got me and you got Condoleezza Rice, et cetera, come work with us?
No, definitely not. I think what we saw is that we have a very, very informed and very engaged electorate, which obviously does not bode well with conservatives currently. When we see it all started back in SB 1070 land, and when we see this fringe, this nativism groups, these Tea Party folks take over large sections of the party and really push those agendas, it's not enough to just put a face. It really goes down to really embracing those particular issues that matter with the Latino community, and we saw that. We saw that Latinos came in droves and rejected that notion.
Are you encouraged that more and more Latinos are voting? In fact, here, let me just show a quick stat here. As far as the percentage of vote that President Obama got, among African Americans, it actually dipped a little bit. But among Latinos, it went up from 67% to 71%. And so are you encouraged that more Latinos are voting?
Definitely, definitely. It's a very engaged electorate, and we saw it throughout the campaign. We saw it before, even when the media narrative was saying, oh, Latinos are not enthusiastic in this election. We said time and again, is like, are you crazy? That we're more enthusiastic than ever before. We're really engaged. And again, when we see the whole primary process talking about self-deportation, talking about I will veto the DREAM Act, having Chris Kobach, the author of SB 1070, as your advisor, that matters. That is a strong message to Latinos, and Latinos came in drove to reject that notion. And it's also a strong, very strong message to Congress. Work with the president. Work with the president to pass immigration reform. No more of this obstruction. We want it now.
Professor Rose, I'm going to play a clip from Rush Limbaugh here. We don't have it? Okay, well, he was perplexed. We played it yesterday. He said, well, I don't get it, man. We put all these minorities on the stage, and they still seems like it's not enough. How do you respond to that?
I mean, listen, I want to just second. Yeah, it's absurd. I mean, listen, of course there was a pull factor that African Americans and Latinos voted for Obama because specifically of his policies and his embrace of a multiracial democracy. But there was an incredible push factor. I mean, Romney and the entire Republican Party ran the most racist campaign I've listened to in my adult life. All of the comments your other guest pointed out that they made, and self-deportation and the incredible insults, and of course all the insults against African Americans was enormous. But of course in the mainstream media, what did they call them? Dog whistles. These were not dog whistles. This was heard like a megaphone. African Americans and Latinos heard very loud and clear that the terms of belonging are actually totally about suppression, repression, and exclusion. And they didn't miss one sound.
So finally, let me just ask you guys real quick. Was it counterproductive, this Republican racist strategy? They thought that they were going to bring out white voters, et cetera, but did they cost themselves the election by, constantly putting this in the face of minorities in the country?
Absolutely, absolutely. The election, the road to the Casa Blanca, to the White House, goes through Latinos. It is clear now. It was clear before. And the more that they began to alienate, the more that they continue to alienate the electorate, the more that they're going to do themselves a big disservice.
Professor Rose, last word.
Well, I think there's no question it backfired this time. But if we should learn anything, we should learn that they know how to run a long-distance fight. And so we should be very cautious and thoughtful about what the next strategies are. Right now it's Alec. Tomorrow it might be Baldwin. Who knows?
No, you are absolutely right about that. And they still have a tremendous amount of money. Thank you both so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Cenk Uygur. To see more of the Young Turks, go to current.com/getcurrent to make sure you get Current TV.